Yo, what's going on guys, XpertFusion here, and today I decided I would do a video where I go over 10 guns I would like to see in Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. Now this goes for the whole game, not just the multiplayer. I'd like to see these guns in the campaign, in zombies, thrown into Warzone even. These are 10 guns that I think would fit this game best. Obviously, not counting the guns we already know will be in the game via what was in the beta or what we know based off of some minor leaks and such. I decided to go with 10 other guns, but they're all going to be sort of possible, right? So I'm not going to do guns like, I don't know, an ACR, which wouldn't be added in the game because the ACR wasn't created until after the Cold War. So in my eyes, anything that was invented before 1991, which was the end of the Cold War, could be in the game, even if it's a really old gun, even though if it wasn't used in, the Cold War at all. I don't really care as long as it fits the era because it was around at some point. Even if it wasn't actually used in service, it still is a viable option to be in this game in my opinion, and it should be there. Obviously when it comes to zombies, do whatever the hell they want because it's zombies. Multiplayer and campaign though, I expect them to keep guns within before 91. So those are the 10 guns we are going with today, and yeah, they're all pretty much guns we've seen before. Except for maybe, yeah, we've pretty much seen all these guns before, and that's the problem with Call of Duty, I feel like, as of recently, is if you're going to do a game that isn't in the future or is within a realistic universe, it's very difficult to add in weapons that we've never seen in a COD game before because we've had so many CODs with so many guns, and there's not a million different types of guns out there. Now, there are a lot of different guns that they haven't done exactly the same prototype or variant of, but they have some sort of a gun that's similar to it. Like, there's plenty of AK-47 variants out there, but they don't do each and every one of the variants of the AK-47 because most of them are just very similar, so why not just call it the AK-47? And I expect if any of these guns are added to this game, I expect a decent amount of them to change their name just because of licensing, because obviously Call of Duty has had trouble with trying to get the licensing for certain guns, so they have to change up the name differently than what the actual gun is called in real life, which is fine, but I'm just going to name, what the gun is called in real life in this video. And also, I wouldn't really care too much if these guns were DLC. Honestly, a lot of them I expect them to be DLC. I don't expect to see all these on launch, but these are some that I expect to at least see in the game in some way, shape, or form, either at launch or sometime down the line. So this is in no particular order. First things first, we're going to go with the AUG. So of course the AUG has appeared in many different Call of Duty games, and it's appeared in very different forms. We've seen it as an LMG, we've seen it as a rifle, and we've seen it as an SMG. And I think it would work best in this game if it was in its rifle format, just like it was in Black Ops 1, where it has a little bit longer range and it has that cool little scope on it that you can use. And this gun was actually created in 1977. And I think it would fit the game very damn well, just because we do need an AR like this in the game. I'd say it's an AR that has usually more, I would say heavier recoil, and it's faster fire rate, and to me that's a gun that I think should be in this game. But I just think this gun looks really dope. I think that's one of the coolest things about it, honestly, especially when you have that scope on it. It looks pretty damn sick. And I think it's probably going to be a launch gun, to be honest. Like, if any gun's going to be a launch gun on this list, I think the AUG would definitely be that gun for sure. Next up, to get some more tactical rifles into the game, I have the FNFAL, which was created in 1953. So FNFAL has also appeared in a couple different COD titles, and it's appeared in certain different ways in other ones. And I do feel like this would have a good place in the game, especially because we only have 2 tactical rifles right now. One of them is of course the Type 63, which is another semi-automatic rifle, and then there's the M16, which is a 3-round burst. So to kind of give some more, love to the semi-automatic rifles, I think having the FNFAL would be a perfect fit, and it was in Black Ops 1, so it would just make perfect sense to have it there as well. But you have to make it feel very different than the Type 63. And to me, the Type 63 felt like it had, at least in the beta build, it had a slower fire rate, but it was a little bit more hard-hitting. So maybe make it the FNFAL the opposite, where it's got a faster fire rate, but it's a little bit weaker. That would probably balance it out perfectly and would make both guns viable in different opportunities and different situations. And of course, next up, I got the Galil. The Galil is one of the most classic guns in COD history, and it better damn return. I don't think it'll have its original name if it does, because Black Ops 4 had to change the name of the Galil to the Grav, and I assume that's because of licensing issues. So I would assume if they were to bring it back, it would probably change its name again to something similar to that. I wouldn't even be surprised if they just called it the Grav again. I wouldn't really be mad if they did, to be honest. That's a fine name in my opinion. The names of the guns don't really matter too much to me, as long as you know what it's based off of. I saw a lot of people saying that they believe the Krig 6 that was already in the game is already the Galil of this game, which I could see why some may say that, because it does look kind of similar to a Galil, but it is not a Galil. It's actually based off of the AK-5, which was created in 1986. The Galil is a completely different gun. It was created in 1972. And yeah, I think it deserves to be in the game. I have heard some rumors actually that the Galil will be in the game, but as DLC apparently. Those are just rumors though, so don't take it with a grain of salt, of course, but it could definitely be there at launch, possibly. But I think if we're not going to get at launch, expect to see it at least some point throughout the DLC cycle. I mean, it's the Galil. Come on, everyone's going to get really excited to see the Galil returning if it does. So I'm sure that would make sense to be a DLC gun, at least in one of the first few seasons of the DLC. Next up, I'm going to say the FAMAS, which was created in 1978. Now, there's different variations of the FAMAS we've seen throughout the COD franchise. We've seen the FAMAS in Black Ops 1, which was, of course, fully automatic, very powerful, probably the best gun in the game, actually. And then we've seen the other FAMAS throughout the, lifespan of Call of Duty, which have been 3-round burst weapons, which was in, of course, Modern Warfare 2, as well as the newest Modern Warfare. And honestly, I feel like the Black Ops 1 FAMAS would be cool and all, but I feel like if they just did the 3-round burst one, it would make more sense for the game, especially since we would need another tactical rifle, and it would be nice to have alongside the M16. So I think it would fit better there, possibly, but there is another burst rifle that I actually think could also be in this game. So maybe if they made the FAMAS just like it was in Black Ops 1, it could work better that way. But I feel like just for the sake of the FAMAS that was used just more, often in real life in general, and was also it's just more popular of a weapon, having it be a burst rifle, I just feel like it would be better that way. I mean, as much as I love the Black Ops 1 FAMAS, I almost don't feel like I'd like to see it that way in this game. I'd prefer it to be its burst rifle form like it was in Black Ops or in Modern Warfare 2. There's something about that bullpup burst rifle that I just really, really dig. So I think that'd be kind of dope, but like I said, there is another burst rifle I'd love to see in this game, and that is, of course, the G11. The G11, just like the AUG, looks awesome. It's such a cool looking gun, and this gun was actually created in 1968, and just like the FAMAS, it would fit pretty well in the game as a burst rifle, since of course we would have more tactical rifles in the game, which I think tactical rifles are some of the most fun guns to use in the game, honestly. They feel like they take more skill to use because you don't just, hold the trigger and you just, light people up down hallways. You have to actually be like precise with your shots and such, which I actually really dig. And I think they could make the G11 pretty good. I mean, it was an okay gun in Black Ops 1. It wasn't like the best thing in the world, but it also wasn't, incredible either. So, or what wasn't bad either. It was, it was just in between. It was an in-between gun. I feel like they could make it kind of similar to that as long as you balance it correctly with the M16, which the M16 currently in Black Ops Cold War is pretty damn good, at least in the beta stage. So I think that would be pretty awesome to see the G11 back. And just think about zombies too. I mean, using the G11 in zombies would be pretty fun. At least in any of these guns in zombies would be pretty fun, to be honest. But yeah, G11 and the FAMAS, both guns I'd love to see come back. So the last of the assault rifles that I would like to see come back, or like the rifles in general, would be the STG-44, which was created around 1944, around that time period. Now, the STG-44, of course, is not a Cold War era weapon, but that doesn't mean it shouldn't be in this game. It, of course, was more primarily used from the Nazis during the World War II. Now, I just don't think it really matters, though. Like, you might as well put it in the game. But I feel like what they're going to end up doing is they're going to save the World War II-esque guns for DLC. So the main game is going to have all the Cold War weapons, and then DLC down the line we'll start seeing some classic like World War I, World War II guns thrown into the mix. So the next couple guns, which are all going to be World War II guns actually, I think would be great for zombies for sure. I mean, I could see these all appearing within like Die Machine or D Machine, or whatever the hell you want to call it, as soon as possible. But for multiplayer, I could see them maybe waiting a little bit to add some of these guns to that game, so they might not want to throw in all these like World War II guns to mix in with this 80s themed game, you know what I mean? They could still definitely, fit well, but I just don't think we'll see it. But STG-44, one of my favorite all-time guns in COD history, and we've seen it, I'd say, a few decent amount of times, actually. I'd say one of my favorite variations of it would be the one from World War II, actually. World of War's variant is great as well. It's the most classic one, but I think I just liked how it performed better in World War II. But I think they could definitely find a good in between the both different SCGs that we've had. And we also saw it in Advanced Warfare, but it was kind of poo-poo in Advanced Warfare. It was like, it sounded poo-poo too. You got to nail the gun sounds. That's one thing they have to do. They have to nail those gun sounds down for sure, or else I'll be disappointed, especially because these guns sound pretty classic back in their old stages in like World at War and such. So as long as they sound similar to that, I'll probably be pretty damn happy with what they do. And the next 3 weapons I have are all SMGs from World War II, which World War II has some great SMGs, and that's going to be the Thompson, the PPSH-41, and the MP40. The Type 100 and the Sten are also SMGs I would love to see return, but those are just honorable mentions, I guess. But these are the 3 SMGs I would love to see come back within this game. Some of my favorite guns from COD history right here, some of the most fun guns to use in zombies as well. Like, I'd love to see the Tommy gun in zombies. PPSH, of course. And we actually saw the PPSH in multiple clips of the zombies trailer within those flashback sequences. So I can definitely see these guns appearing in zombies, and even Long Sensation tweeted out a while back saying that this map would include some World War II weaponry. So I definitely think we will be getting the PPSH in some way, shape, or form on this map. Now, will it come into multiplayer? I hope. I don't know if it will at launch, maybe for DLC at some point, but I want to use the PPSH, the Tommy gun, and the MP40 in this game with all the great attachments you can probably put on them. I mean, just imagine the optimization you can do with the gunsmith. Now, of course, you have to keep in mind that they are World War II weapons, so it would look kind of weird seeing some of these, more advanced attachments that this game has because it's in the 80s, so there is a little bit more advancements than what we had in World War II. Would it look weird having all those attachments? Yes. They can do one of 2 things. They can do 1, just less attachments. 2, who gives a shit, and just put the attachments on it anyways. I mean, you look at Black Ops 3, they had some classic guns being included, and they still allow you to put some wanky ass, attachments on your gun that are more futuristic. Does it really matter? It's a video game. It's an arcade shooter. Have some fun. Who cares if you feel a little, it's not realistic. Who gives a shit? But like I said, if they want to just have less attachments, I honestly wouldn't really care that much. As long as you get that beautiful drum magazine on the PPSH, as well as on the Thompson, even on the MP40, I'll be happy. Drum magazine is one of the coolest looking things ever on it and on an SMG, so I'd love to see that come back. Now, when it comes to the Thompson, you could do a couple different variations of the Thompson. Do you want to do the M1A1 Thompson, which was how it was in World at War, or do you want to do more of an M1927 Thompson, which is like the Tommy gun that we see within like Mob of the Dead and such? So I would like to see more of a Tommy gun type style weapon as opposed to the M1A1, but like I said, I wouldn't really mind regardless. PPSH though, there's actually some different variations of the PPSH. There's like a PPSH 43 actually, and it looks a little bit different, but just do the classic PPSH 41. I think it's the coolest looking one and would hype up the most amount of people. And MP40, of course, you got to give us the MP40. It's a classic gun as well, and it just needs to be there in my opinion. And if it's not there, even for DLC, we have a problem. And last but not least, this is actually an interestingly weird one, but I have the Glock 17, which is actually a handgun that was invented in 1982, or designed, produced, whatever you want to call it. Invented is not a good word for that, I guess, but 1982. Now, 1982 would obviously make the Glock fit in this era, even though the Glock is more of a modern weapon. You see it being used in modern, era way more often than you would, but doesn't really make a difference because it was still within that time period, so I can definitely see it being in the game. Now, I don't think they'd call it the Glock because I don't think they got licensing for Glock. That's why we've never seen an actual Glock before in COD. We've never seen it called the Glock. We've seen variants of the Glock that they just changed the name of, just like in Modern Warfare 2019, there is actually a Glock in the game. But I want to see it because it's one of the coolest looking handguns in my opinion, and in this game right now, the only handguns we have are of course the M93 Replica, which is called like the Diamante or whatever. Then you have the Magnum, and you have the M1911. So I think the Glock would fit pretty well as a semi-automatic handgun. And honestly, I just want to use it in zombies, man, because we never really got to use many different types of Glocks within zombies, other than maybe like the Kendall in Infinite Warfare, which is more of a futuristic Glock of some sort. So I think it'd be cool if it was more of a high-powered weapon, though, like it wasn't as weak as, you'd think a like M1911 would be of some sort. I think it would be cooler if it was more of a powerful pistol that kind of killed a little bit quicker, even though I doubt they would make a pistol that way. That's usually what the Magnums are, and if they were to make it that way, they'd probably make it so it was, slower shooting. But regardless, it's just a cool looking handgun that I'd love to see come into this game. And that's going to do for this list, of course. I know I didn't have any snipers or LMGs or shotguns, but Honestly, I just don't really care about LMG snipers or shotguns nearly as much. I already think the LMG snipers and shotguns they have in the game currently are already pretty dope as is, and I'm not really, anticipating any other snipers, shotguns, or LMGs. So yeah, I'm just more looking forward to the ARs and the SMGs, and of course that one handgun, what I think would be really cool to see within this game. So let me know your list in the comment section below. What guns do you want to see come back into this game? And if you want crazy guns to come back, go for it. Go throw out some crazy weapons that you never really expect to see in this game. But I expect them to keep within reason, which a lot of people might complain about this, but it is what it is. It's a past game. There's not really much more they can do. World War II, however, had the most guns in COD history added to that game. I think there's like almost 100 guns in that game currently. So there's a lot of different variations of weapons they can do, but they're just not going to be that different from other guns already currently in the game. I mean, you look at World War II, it's really hard to memorize all those guns because so many of them are so similar to one another because there's just not enough guns to go around. Futuristic games obviously allow them to do a lot more crazier things because they can do whatever they want, you know what I mean? So regardless, hopefully you all enjoyed the video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.